Hello, and welcome to our podcast. Together, we will step into history as we uncover the laws and story that shaped the Philippines. And in this episode, we are diving into Republic Act 1425 or the Rizal Law that requires the study of Jose Rizal's life and works, especially the Noli Tangere and El Filibusterismo. But why was this law created? Why was it so controversial? And how does it influence Filipino identity today? Join us as we explore the impact of the Rizal Law, its role in education, and whether Rizal's message still resonates with the youth today. For the first question is, what was the historical context behind the creation of the Rizal Law? And why was it controversial at the time? So, according to my own research and understanding, historical context behind the establishment of Rizal Law was for the government to promote the studies of Jose Rizal, especially when it comes to his life, works, and writings, and specifically his novels Noli Tangere and El Filibusterismo, because this law fosters the patriotism and national identity of every individual. And for some reason, some people, such as the Catholic Church in the Philippines, seen his works as an opposition and anti-clericalism, which means a opposition to the power and influence of religious authorities, especially clergy in social, political, and economic affairs. And even so, I believe that Jose Rizal's works are more pure of good intentions because not only Jose Rizal created his works for entertainment, but he used his works to expose the Spaniards' colonial injustices toward the Philippines, which was the reason to give way for our Philippine independence. And because of his efforts and sacrifices, he was seen until now as a national hero of the Philippines.
I think the historical context behind the Rizal Law was about the inclusion of Rizal's main writings such as Noli Tangere and El Filibusterismo in all institutions in the country, and of course to promote patriotism and nationalism for every Filipino students. And it became very controversial before since the Catholic Church and other religious groups opposed it because they think that it will affect the faith of the children to the church.
The Rizal Law was created in 1956 during a time when the Philippines was rebuilding after World War II and dealing with strong influence from Catholic Church in education. The law aimed to require students to study Jose Rizal's life and works, especially Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, to promote nationalism and patriotism. However, it was controversial because many religious leaders opposed it, arguing that Rizal's novels were anti-Catholic and could weaken people's faith. Some politicians and educators believe that learning about Rizal will encourage Filipinos to question authority and colonial influences. Despite the opposition, the law was passed because many leaders believe understanding Rizal's works was essential to shaping national identity.
So, since the Rizal law required that Jose Rizal's life and etc. to be taught in all Philippine schools, particularly after the Philippines gained independence from the United States, it sought to educate Filipinos about their history and foster nationalism. It was contentious because the Catholic Church objected, claiming that Rizal novels were critical of the clergy. The bill was passed with some compromises in spite of the resistance, which was a big help in bolstering pride and national identity.
For the next question is, how does studying Rizal's life and works influence Filipino identity and nationalism today? So, studying more about Jose Rizal's life and works acquires so much of critical thinking as we analyze, evaluate, and interpret his works. We became deeply aware of our own identity as a Filipino and learned the histories past that has influenced the present generation, which helped young generation to become fully aware about their surroundings. Jose Rizal's works, efforts, and sacrifices not only portrays the achievements of our heroes, rather, his works continuously influence the present generation to carry out the learnings and love of our own national identity.
Studying Rizal's life and works helps Filipino understand the value of nationalism, courage, and sacrifice. His novels expose the struggles of Filipinos under Spanish rule, which reminds us to stand up for our rights and fight against corruption and injustice. His love for education and reform also teaches us that change begins with knowledge and action. Even today, his lesson push us to be critical of societal issues and take responsibility for the nation's progress. Learning about results inspires us to be active citizens who strive for a better Philippines.
For me, by studying and understanding the life and works of Rizal will help us to shape our Filipino identity and nationalism. If we instill the deep sense of the word patriotism, then it could add more to it. Actually, there's a lot of historical advantages if we keep studying Rizal's life. For example, if we keep reading Noli and El Fili, it will give us an idea about how unjust the Spanish rulers are because these books will expose everything they did to all Filipinos before and how they controlled them for their own interest. That is why by continue learning and reading Rizal's work, will not just strengthen our identity as a Filipino, but also it will help us to keep our freedom as a country.
So, studying about Jose Rizal's life and work is crucial to shaping Filipino identity and nationalism. The Filipino people find great resonance in Rizal's support of justice, freedom, and education. Generations of Filipino have been motivated to struggle for their rights and independence by his writings, especially Noli Tangere and El Filibusterismo, which have revealed the social inequalities and corruption of the Spanish colonial era. The Filipino identity is still shaped by Rizal's emphasis on the value of education, civic responsibility, and patriotism, which strengthens a shared sense of history and purpose. His message for social reform and moral integrity is still relevant today, and Filipinos are urged to uphold the values of unity, patriotism, and resilience in the face of adversity.
Question number 3. In what ways has the implementation of the Rizal Law evolved over time, and is it still relevant in the modern education? Hmm. Rizal's Law has changed many things over time because of the implementation of Rizal Law, the RA 1425. Students are required to learn and understand his ideals when it comes to life, ideas, and his works, the Noli and El Filibusterismo. In the beginning, specific groups do not acknowledge his works as it portrays the anti-clericalism like the Catholic Church, of course. However, it became an important part of education by using different subjects or courses, or even in social medias in a engaging way. Even so, as time goes by, Rizal Law is an essential as a beneficiary because this Rizal Law continuously uh, teaches students to develop their critical thinking, to be appreciative of their own Filipino identity, and reflect on social issues. In short, Rizal Law continuously teach students to inspire and work for better society.
Since students required to study his works, at first conservative groups resisted, particularly from conservative groups who viewed Rizal's writings as subversive. Over time, however, the law has become an integral part of the Philippine educational system, ensuring that students learn about Rizal's contributions to the country's independence and national consciousness. As the Philippines modernizes, the interpretation and focus of Rizal's works have adapted to reflect contemporary issues. Today, the law remains relevant, encouraging students to reflect on the values of nationalism, human rights, and social justice. This serves as a reminder of an ongoing need for societal progress and moral integrity, making it an essential aspect of the curriculum in fostering well rounded, civic minded individuals.
Yes, Rizal law is still relevant in modern education, especially for the next generations, because this law keeps every Filipino's nationalism and awareness on our historical events. Also, it is still relevant as it is important that we are aware or we have knowledge about our history. And moving forward, the implementation of this law really evolved over time as it is being integrated with the technology. Then the students will have an access to it in a more interactive and meaningful ways.
Over time, the Rizal Law has evolved in how it is taught in schools. Before, students mostly focus on memorizing facts about Rizal's life, but now, there is a bigger effort to analyze his ideas and connect them to modern issues. The law is still relevant because Rizal's works discuss problems like corruption, social injustice, and abuse of power, which are still present today. However, some young Filipinos see it as just another school requirement and do not fully appreciate its lessons. To make it more meaningful, educators need to make results teachings more relatable to modern struggles and challenges.
That is all for our podcast and episode for today, and that wraps up our discussion on the Rizal Law, the RA 1425, a law that continues to shape Filipino identity and inspire nationalism through the life, works, and ideals of Dr. Jose Rizal.
From understanding the historical context behind its creation to reflecting on its relevance today, it's clear that Rizal's legacy remains alive, especially in the hearts of young Filipinos who continue to question, learn, and advocate for a better society.
Rizal once said, ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan ay hindi makakarating sa paroroonan. By studying his works, we're not just looking back at history, we're finding lessons that guide us in shaping the future.
We hope this episode sparked your curiosity and inspired you to dive deeper into Rizal's writings, reflect on our national identity, and recognize the role we play in continuing his fight for truth and justice.
Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us for more conversations like this. Until next time, mabuhay and keep the spirit of Rizal alive. Paalam!
Um,